Streaming platforms are finally wising up and realizing that there's money to be made off of everyday advertisers, not just the big name brands that previously could afford to be on their platform. We've already given you an overview of how you can advertise to your users on Roku. If you're interested in checking that out, you can look at this video right here. And today we want to add another platform to the mix, Hulu Ads. Since this is our first video on Hulu, we're going to cover the thing that we think is probably the most important when evaluating a new channel, and that's the targeting options. Because with any other channel, if you can't target your users on it, you probably don't need it as part of your media mix. So today we're going to go through the handful of targeting options on Hulu Ads so you can decide if it's right for your account. I'm on the campaigns page within the Hulu Ad Manager, and to get to the targeting options, I'm actually going to utilize the current staging campaign I have in place, and that's the one down here called Sample Audience. So really quickly, the easiest way to edit this campaign is to come over into the Actions, click the pencil for Edit Campaign. Now, for the sake of this video, I'm going to skip most of the setup in the campaign and we're going to jump right to targeting. But just know that we will have another video coming out in the following weeks that will cover the overarching setup for a Hulu campaign. So we will get to all of these other steps. But for right now, I'm just going to take a shortcut and go up to targeting. And as you could see by the drop down that showed up whenever I hovered over targeting, there are a handful of different options that we have within the platform. And the first is going to be location targeting. Just like most other platforms, Hulu gives us the option to include specific locations. We can also exclude locations. And the options are pretty self-explanatory. Within the US, you've got zip code, city, state, and DMA. So I can click the drop down next to zip code and I can just start typing in as many zip codes as I want. Or I can upload a CSV if I want to do it in a much easier format. I would highly suggest that depending on how many zip codes you have. And then once you've uploaded it, you just click done. The other option is for city, state, and DMA. When I open this, you can just scroll down and start to type in the box here. And unlike some of the other platforms that we see, it's not laid out as easily as it could be. It starts off with AK for Alaska as the state, and then it goes through each city within Alaska that starts with A, and it goes alphabetically down from there. You can scroll as much as you want. You'll notice that it goes through all of the cities in Alaska first, and then it will eventually get to whatever the second state is alphabetically. And actually, it doesn't even do that. It ends at Alaska. So if you do want to have individual states or cities, I highly suggest you just start typing into this enter location name field, and it'll start to pop up. But you'll also notice that there is an additional option. You can simply skip location targeting. If you skip this step, that means that your ad can be shown in any location. And that means that your ad can be shown anywhere within the United States. If you want to run across the country, just leave this section blank. And for right now, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click skip. Next, we have age and gender targeting. This is going to be very simple and look very familiar compared to other platforms. For gender, you can target all or anybody on the platform, just women or just men. And then for age groups, we have checkboxes similar to the Google Ads platform where we can target people 18 to 24, 25 to 34, 35 to 49, and 50 plus. Overall, pretty straightforward on this front. The next section is around audience targeting, and I think this is going to be the section that people are most interested in on Hulu compared to other platforms. Here we're going to be able to target people based on behavior, demographic, interest, and ownership characteristics. As Hulu explains here, each audience you select will be targeted independently, but some audiences may overlap, meaning that if somebody exhibits a certain behavior, they might also have certain interests as well. That doesn't mean that the audiences are mutually exclusive. And if you skip this step, you'll basically be targeting the entire Hulu audience within whatever geographic location and demographic information you've selected. But let's assume we're not going to do that and take a little bit more of a look into these different audiences. So I'm going to come over here to select, click the drop down, and here we've got the four major categories that I mentioned earlier. First is behavior. With this, we have in-market audiences, or anybody who is in the market to purchase what looks like any car, appliances, eyewear, home improvement, SUVs, sedans, trucks, anybody who's looking to make those types of purchases. Down below, these are people who have any sort of purchase activity. So these are people that are known to be alcohol buyers, book buyers, coffee, oral care, which I would hope would honestly be everybody, vitamins, all sorts of different things. So these are people who are known to be purchasers of these products, and the other audience, the in-market audiences, are based on people who are in the market to make a specific purchase. To add any of these audiences, all you need to do is check the box next to it, and it'll be added to your targeting. The next section is on demographics. So there are 4 subcategories here: career, education, financial, and milestones. So let's go through each of those. For career, you can effectively have a combination of a number of different options. It seems like whatever they were able to intuit about their customers is what they added an option for, because we have some with C-level executives at a large company that has 1,000 plus employees next to entrepreneurs, startups, and SMB owners. So those are 2 kind of types of categories, but also a job title within it. Then there's also manager, self-employed, small business decision maker, teacher, upper management, and young professionals. Quite a range of career identifiers here, but if any of these speak specifically to your audience, this could be a great way to try and reach them on the Hulu platform. Next is education. Overall, these are pretty straightforward. College grad, continuing education, currently in college, anybody who has a high school diploma or some college, and then some college education. Feels like a little bit of overlap there, but certainly a number of options to help you target people based on their education level. Next is financial. The top options we have here are going to be based on annual household income, and they are not in numeric order. So it's got $100,000, $150,000, $30,000, $50,000, and $75,000 plus. So obviously some of these will overlap. If you check the box next to 50K, you will also be opting into the 75K, 100, and 150K levels as well. And then down at the bottom, we have another couple of pieces that are financial indicators. People who use credit cards, which again, I would assume is almost everybody. And then the other category is donates to charity, which is probably almost nobody, unfortunately. So if it's coming up on the holiday season and you're trying to find more ways to generate funds for your charity, Hulu might be a good option if you can find people who donate to charity on a regular basis. Next are around demographic milestones. We have brides and grooms to be, millennials, and then a number of different parental segments based on how old the kids are. So these can be really helpful if you're trying to promote something to people who have teenagers in the house, as opposed to people with no kids or somebody who has a preschooler. Moving on from demographics, let's look at interest targeting. And here we have 5 different categories: entertainment, food and drink, home, lifestyle, and travel. And each of these has their own subcategory. So in travel, there's a lot of different groups based on international travel, business travel, adventure seekers. Lifestyle has a number of different options. Same thing with home, food and drink, and entertainment. There's lots of different options that you can choose to add to your campaigns just based on people's interest. And again, some of these are going to be very high level. People who like pizza, again, probably almost everybody, as compared to people who like organic food, which is probably a much smaller subsegment. The last option is going to be the ownership group, and that is based on what Hulu can infer that specific user owns. So when it comes to auto, do they own any size car, a motorcycle, SUV? For their home, do they either rent their home or own it? And then for pets, you can target based on if they own a cat or a dog. The one thing to note here is that whenever you opt into any sort of targeting, you can only target it. You cannot exclude certain segments. So whenever you add something to your audience, just know that you're going to target those specific people at the exclusion of pretty much everybody else. But you could not, for example, exclude dog owners and target everybody else. If you're creating your campaign and you decide that you don't want to have some sort of targeting on here, all you have to do is hover over it and click the trash can and it'll go away. Now let's skip to the next targeting option, which is going to be platforms. This one is relatively simple. You get to choose whether or not you want to target people when they're in their living room, on their mobile device, or on a computer. Those are the 3 categories. All you need to do is check the box or uncheck the box next to each device group, and you'll be able to customize where your ads show to users as they're watching content on Hulu. And speaking of content on Hulu, that brings us to the last targeting option that we have available for these campaigns. And that's content genre targeting. Just like all the others, if you skip this step, you're going to have your ads show within any genre on the platform. But if you want to choose certain types of content, you can open this caret here, and then you can start to select certain types of genres. So if you select in this field, it will finally show you the drop-down menu that we have available. So again, there are a lot of different categories here, but most of them are still pretty high level. So action and adventure, anime, business, drama, international, all sorts of different options we have here. Sports. If any of these types of genres are what you want your ads to show next to, you just click on it and it'll add here. But you'll also notice that you have the ability to exclude certain types of content as well. So if you just really don't want to show next to any sort of sports content or anything like that, you can easily click exclude, and you will not have your ad show within the sports genre on Hulu, but you would show in either all of the other ones or only the ones that you include in your targeting here. For now, I'm just going to get rid of this. And that's all for the targeting options we have available on the platform. Like I showed earlier, here are the 5 different categories of controls that you have for Hulu targeting. And overall, they might not be the most robust, but for a streaming platform that is effectively operating as TV, this is a pretty good amount of targeting that we have for the campaigns. You can customize your location just like you could for any other television network. Age and gender, my guess, is going to be a lot more specific on Hulu because people have utilized different logins. There's probably sharing data across multiple different platforms. And then the same thing would be true for the audiences. My guess is that there's a lot of third-party and first-party data being shared, for better or worse, across these platforms to help you narrow down into the right people. And then you get to choose what type of device they're using and what type of content you show up next to. In most other types of advertising, you don't really get to choose that in the same way. So I think there's a lot of potential for Hulu campaigns to be a good option for you to find your target audience. As I mentioned earlier, we'll go through the overview of the platform itself and some of the guidelines you have for signing up in a future video. If some of these targeting options seem interesting to you, I encourage you to go check out the Hulu Ads self-service platform and see if you can get yourself signed up. I know this was just a high-level overview of all the targeting available, but if there are any questions, just like every other video we have, feel free to leave us a note in the comments down below. Thanks for watching our video. If you thought it was useful, give us a thumbs up below.
We release a new video at least once a week, so if you want to get notified of when a new one comes out, be sure to subscribe to the Paid Media Pros channel.